Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into Genesis, chapters 10 through 20.
That's right.
Our goal, really, is to get a feel for how these chapters describe the world right after the flood.
Yeah.
Looking at where nations supposedly came from, migrations, the beginnings of civilization as told here.
Exactly. Think of it as, well, their understanding of the world, tracing everyone they knew back to Noah's family post-flood. It's foundational stuff.
Definitely. So let's start with Genesis 10, the Table of Nations. It maps everyone back to Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. What jumps out at you here?
Well, it's this fascinating ancient attempt, really, to map the world based on kinship. It connects different peoples and places. Japheth's line heading towards coastal areas, Ham's associated with Africa and Canaan, and Shem's descendants in Mesopotamia, the line that eventually leads to Abraham.
So it's like their family tree for the whole world at that time.
Pretty much, yeah, explaining the diversity they saw.
Okay, then chapter 11 hits us with the Tower of Babel. This one's really famous. You've got humanity united, one language, building this massive tower.
Right, reaching for the heavens.
Yeah.
But the key thing isn't just the building, it's the ambition and the reaction.
God's reaction, yeah. Confusing the languages, scattering people.
And that's presented as the origin for, why there are so many different languages and cultures spread across the earth. It touches on themes of human pride, maybe, and divine order.
Dramatic shift from unity to diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Then also in chapter 11, the focus narrows, right, to Shem's line leading down to Terah.
Exactly. It becomes a genealogical bridge, really, highlighting the path towards Abram, who becomes Abraham. Terah takes the family from Ur, heading for Canaan, but they stop and settle in Haran for a while.
Setting the stage for what comes next,
Precisely.
which is Genesis 12,
Yeah.
the call of Abram. God tells him basically, leave everything, country, family, and go to a land I'll show you. And the promises are huge.
Oh, absolutely. A great nation, a great name, being a blessing, and through him, all peoples on earth being blessed. It's a pivotal moment, the start of the covenant relationship.
And Abram just goes, with Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his nephew.
Yeah.
That takes some faith.
It really does. It's presented as an act of obedience that sets this whole narrative arc in motion.
But then they hit a famine in Canaan and head down to Egypt. And we get that slightly uncomfortable story about Sarai pretending to be his sister.
Yeah, that one. It shows Abram's fear, his very human side, even amidst these divine promises. He acts out of self-preservation, leading to deception.
But God intervenes, Pharaoh finds out, and they have to leave Egypt.
Right. It's an early test, maybe, showing both human weakness and divine protection.
Back in Canaan, chapter 13, Abram and Lot have to split up. Too many flocks, too much wealth, their shepherds are fighting.
Yeah, practical problems. And Abram is shown as quite generous, letting Lot pick first.
And Lot chooses the Jordan Valley near Sodom. Looks good on the surface.
Looks very fertile, yes. But hints of trouble down the road there. Abram stays in Canaan.
Then chapter 14, things get dramatic. A war breaks out, Lot gets captured.
And Abram mounts this, commando raid with his own men to rescue him. Quite impressive.
Yeah, and after the rescue, he meets Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of God Most High. Who is this guy?
Ah, Melchizedek. He's significant because he sort of appears out of nowhere, blesses Abram, and receives a tithe from him. It suggests a priesthood and worship of the true God existed even outside Abram's direct line. It's intriguing.
Very. Okay, chapter 15. God makes a formal covenant with Abram. Promises descendants like the stars, even though he's still childless. There's this intense ceremony.
With the cut animals, yeah. And the smoking fire pot passing between them. It's a very ancient, very solemn way of sealing a deal, a promise, God binding himself to his word.
And there's also that prophecy about his descendants being enslaved for 400 years.
Right, adding a shadow of future hardship even within the promise.
Then chapter 16, Sarai still hasn't conceived. So she suggests Abram have a child with her servant, Hagar.
Which leads to Ishmael's birth. But it also leads to a lot of conflict between Sarai and Hagar. Human attempts to fulfill the promise, perhaps getting ahead of God's timing.
And an angel appears to Hagar, giving promises about Ishmael too.
Yes, showing God's care extends beyond just the main covenant line.
Chapter 17, God appears again, reaffirms the covenant, changes their names Abram to Abraham, Sarai to Sarah, and introduces circumcision.
The sign of the covenant, a physical mark of belonging to this special relationship. The name changes signify their new destiny. Abraham as father of a multitude, Sarah as princess, and the promise of Isaac through Sarah is made explicit.
Okay, chapter 18. Abraham has visitors, 3 men, one is the Lord. They repeat the promise about Sarah having Isaac. But then the conversation turns to Sodom and Gomorrah.
And Abraham starts, well, bargaining with God, right? Interceding for the cities. What if there are 50 righteous people, 40, 30? It shows his boldness, his concern for justice.
Really shows his relationship with God developing.
Definitely.
Chapter 19 delivers on that warning. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Lot escapes, barely. His wife.
Looks back, a pillar of salt, a stark image.
And then that really difficult story about Lot and his daughters in the cave, leading to the origins of the Moabites and Ammonites.
Yeah, it's a grim conclusion to that episode, explaining the origins of neighboring, often rival peoples.
Finally, chapter 20. Abraham's in Gerar, and he does it again. Tells King Amalek that Sarah is his sister.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it? A repeat performance. Again, fear seems to override faith for a moment.
And again, God has to intervene in a dream to sort it out.
Right. It underscores that even foundational figures are complex, flawed humans.
So, looking back at these 10 chapters,
Mhm.
wow, we've covered the mapping of nations, the Tower of Babel, the huge call of Abraham, the covenant, promises, failures, rescues. It's a lot.
It really lays the groundwork. Origins, the establishment of this key covenant relationship, the challenges involved. It sets up so much of what follows in the biblical narrative. Themes of faith, lineage, promise, human weakness, divine faithfulness.
So maybe something for you listening to think about. How do these ancient stories about origins, about covenant, about flawed heroes still echo today? What questions do they raise for you about identity, faith, or just how we understand our place in the world?
Good question to ponder.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.